What's going on? Boys, arm yourselves. What do you do when you have already made 2 videos in one day and you are looking at a third video longer than the previous 2 combined, filled with topics that don't necessarily fit together, none of which individually you have worked out entirely, and certainly haven't figured out how to put them together cohesively? Well, I think you just start talking and hope for the best. I feel so bad for Naked Snake slash Big Boss. And it's because starts as a well-meaning pawn who realizes every single aspect of his life is not just an illusion, but also a puppet string he can't see pulling him in any direction other than one he understands and has a say in. And by the end, he has the bitterest taste in his mouth for every justifiable reason. Everyone knows what's going on except for him. And at no point is his will, much less his feelings, which are maybe even more important than his will, that's why I like this character, taken into consideration. Not acknowledged, much less cared for. All he wants to do is do his job, take care of his friends, and serve his country. And every single step of the way, he's taken advantage of. And it's no wonder, once he realizes what has been done to him and what he's been made to do, he becomes a villain. And I really love him because he is a villain. He is villainous, but it's clear, despite everything, he still cares about victims of deception, which makes the existence, the usage, the deployment of Venom Snake all the more tragic. But we'll get to that. So in a Futurasound video, and Futurasound is a channel, Joran Lee, a video essay by Joran Lee, that's a channel I strongly recommend if you are at all interested in Metal Gear. And academic critical analysis, I don't know what Joran Lee's background is, but he is conducting not video essays, more like video articles. What you see in his videos are similar to what you would see in academia. I really like him. Not just for the banging content, but also for the... It's like smelling an apple pie on the windowsill. Watching an academic freak out over something they're having trouble putting into words. Beautiful. Nostalgic. I miss it. In one of his videos, I think it's MGS Will Never Be Game Over, he describes MGS and Ground Zeroes as a text the way academics, literature academics, look at texts they are working with. Not messages to be decoded and getting one message alone, but rather as a language unto itself that you can use to create different messages. And it's a language because you can't just slam shit together, anything together, and get something out, but rather you have to apply reasoning to or with the pieces you're given to come up with plausible conclusions or messages. and you can come up with a bunch of different ones. That's the way academics look at texts. That's the way he's describing MGSV and all of Metal Gear, really, but especially V, Ground Zeroes, and the Phantom Pain, and it fits. But part of that video, he describes Skullface's language. Like, you can look at MGSV as a language. You can look at texts as languages. But he describes Skullface's infection of the system as the language of revenge, uniting people in the language of endless retaliation. Never any unity, because to him that is control, that's death, that's the end, that's the ultimate imperialism. But by setting off an endless cycle of vengeance, of retaliation, keeping people separate, and therefore actually creating freedom. 1984, War is Freedom. Watch every single Futura Sound video. They are dope. But that got me thinking about different languages. Because I think Big Boss both... Well, I would say Naked Snake starts it, but then when Venom becomes Big Boss, and I'm of the mind they are really the same person at that point, they're united not by their actions necessarily, but by the language they share. That language being not just revenge, but also, perhaps more importantly, deception. The feelings that come with deception. They are united as one under or as victims of wholesale illusion, manipulation, control down to, well, just everything. Your existence is deception and control. So let's think about Naked Snake. To Snake, the boss was a teacher, a mother, a lover, and a coworker. Weird. Hard to articulate that relationship. But she meant everything to him. And taken away from him for, I think it's 10 years, reunited only so she can betray him. And everyone knows about it except for Snake. And in the midst of the beginning of this illusion, he is so pathetic repeatedly. He lets her brutalize him, hoping this is just a bad dream. There is no way we would actually be in this situation. There is no way she would actually be doing this to me. There is no way this can be happening. But it is, but it's not, but it is, but he doesn't know that. All the while, all these people who are in on it not only are just misleading him, playing like they don't know what's going on, but they are being friendly with him. Zero is the most overt with his like passive-aggressive joke jabs, but and it's actually so prevalent it makes me think every time Zero talks he's lying, or whenever he talks in that tone, even if there isn't something I know that tone should be indicating, it makes me think it is indicating something else that we and Snake are unaware of. But that's at least noticeable, for the most part, right? Everyone else is being Snake's friend while they're lying to him. And I know there are some people who think the Fox crew as the Patriots is a retcon, and it might be, But I don't think that changes what's going on here. I mean, it doesn't, because canon, but if you headcanon away all the other Metal Gear games, Fox knows what's going on. But let's look at this in canon, because wider canon here does accentuate what's going on, these feelings. You have XOF operating in the background, the invisible support unit. The Cobras, each Cobra, sacrificing themselves to train Snake. The fact this Russian jungle that doesn't exist is populated entirely by animals and flora that shouldn't be there. Tons of technology, all of which is being field tested. Everything is out of place and undergoing testing. It's not real. There isn't a jungle in Russia there. And Snake is the biggest out of place, being field tested ass thing out there. He is a cog in a machine that needs to be proven can work. But that's the thing, right? The whole idea, it's not proving that things work, it's proving that things happened or were believed to have worked. So technically, Snake doesn't have to become a legendary soldier to surpass the boss in Operation Snake Eater. All he has to do is become someone people believe is a legendary soldier capable enough to surpass the boss. And I would argue Snake does not actually surpass the boss, but he made it... No, that's the thing. He didn't even make it seem like he did. Everyone around him made it seem like he did because they needed him to seem like he did, when in reality he did not. The Cobras are there to be beaten. They are there to ensure he's at a certain level, but just enough to beat them, not to surpass them wildly. And then when it comes to the boss, Snake doesn't have to surpass her by leaps and bounds. All he has to do is bring her down in a way that is convincing. I think Joy took a fall because that was what her vision needed. I.e., if Snake managed to confront her by the end somehow, but was a loser idiot by the end, and he actually can be if you suck at the game, you can still beat her. You can suck at the game and still beat her. And I don't think that is a mistake. I think Snake is a great soldier, especially by the end of Peace Walker, but I don't think he is a surpassing the boss soldier. I don't think he is a big boss tier soldier, at least by the end of Metal Gear Solid 3. Because everyone needed people to think Snake succeeded. Everyone needed Snake to appear as if he succeeded, and he had every factor down to an entire secret, and in that case, probably more skilled backup unit ensuring he succeeded. And you compare Snake in that situation, in Operation Snake Eater, to the boss in any one of her missions prior to Operation Snake Eater. You go back in the history, she infiltrated the Russian space program alone. No CIA backup, no government backup at all. She infiltrated them to figure some things out and massage some things, despite everything, with everyone working against her, because that's what she believed she needed to do. All alone. Totally in the dark, in history, unknown. Everyone working against her. And I don't think Snake, Naked Snake, at any point in his career reached those heights. And the few victories he did achieve in Operation Snake Eater were not really victories because they were supposed to happen. They were simulations. They were field tests. And I think that's a huge part of what breaks him. Not all of it. We'll get to that. But I think a huge component of Naked Snake, his character, his meme, is deception and emasculation, humiliation. George, Super Bunny Hop, I haven't watched his videos in, oh my god, a long time, but I remember him talking about this, the emasculation side of things. I think love and betrayal, I mean, everything in Naked Snake's life is betrayal, but betrayal in love is another important component. Eva. It's stated directly by Eva. Either Eva never loved Snake, or if she did, then it had no bearing on anything she was doing. So I remember Super Bunny Hop saying, in typical James Bond fashion, the male hero is supposed to get the victory, get the girl, pump and dump, onto the next thing. But what happens to Snake is the opposite. Eva pumps and dumps him. And that's not even that emasculating when you put it in perspective. Right? So that's sort of a rhyming, flipping the script sort of deal. What causes me so much pain when I even think about it, or so much pain that I have to stop what I'm thinking about, stop what I'm doing, stop whatever I'm listening to, and put on Invisible by Duran Duran to try to drown that feeling out, is that moment Snake and Eva, she's wounded, and Snake says, I need you, and she says, say that again. Snake says, I need you. I can't fly the wig by myself. That is played as this poor girl caught up in her feelings for this man who cares only for the mission thing. And then you realize that was a deception. Snake's comedic, stoic ignorance at Eva's expense was actually, in the end, at Snake's expense. It's not that Snake didn't care about her or was too focused on the mission. Snake didn't matter. That moment of getting one over on Eva by Snake's ignorance was actually an orchestrated moment to cement further Snake's image as this stoic, ignorant about love action hero. It was all a lie. And then later in Peace Walker, of course, Eva finally pops back in only to try to tug at Snake's heartstrings and manipulate him into doing what Cypher wants. And Snake's rejecting this moral manipulation, and by the end of Peace Walker, that is when he becomes Big Boss. I think that rejection of everything, including, or especially, Cause, but shit, we'll get to that. I think that is when he becomes his own agent, really scary, becomes the villain, just by, if not taking sincere control of his life, then investing sincerely in his own vision, not anyone else's, not even the memory of the boss. But among so many other manipulative, deceptive voices, Eva comes back in Peace Walker only to try to manipulate Snake further. But then you look at, and not, of course, not considering Snake's will or feelings at all, and not even trying to figure out what his feelings and will are and trying to maneuver them, but trying to sow seeds that will prevent his having his own will and feelings in the first place, which is the most devilish thing. The boss's betrayal. Manipulating someone she loves who loves her, into killing her after, I would argue, she takes a dive and never saying why. After the Sorrow's death, she killed him and promising never to let that happen again. Something like that happen again. And this is tricky because I don't understand the boss. I think I could watch every video essay on the planet. I've played 3 as a kid more times than I can count. I've played it once as an adult. Metal Gear Solid 5, I'm going through Ground Zeroes. I could do everything, I think, and still not understand the boss fully. So I guarantee you I'm getting something wrong. But still, looking at this from Snake's perspective, the most important person in your life tricks you into killing them half-heartedly, not so you can actually surpass them, but so you can be lauded as the hero who surpassed them publicly and killed this dirty defector publicly. You're being praised as this hero publicly when you know you aren't shit, and the woman who was shit, everything and then some, is going to die utterly forgotten and disgraced. She was the real hero nobody saw. And now, you are the hero, quotes, everybody sees, and you are false. You are ultimately, to your core, insubstantial. You were a thing people pulled around and have now put on a pedestal with no regard for what you wanted, how you felt, and you're left with the most important person in your life dead by your hands, all of your friends liars, you know them to be liars, and you know you aren't shit. Devastating. I don't know how he lived after that. Except you kind of do know. When Snake becomes Big Boss, wills into being Outer Heaven is his answer to his trauma, to all that deception. But the so damaging thing about this is he built his Outer Heaven, his reaction to all of this, all of these lies, using a lie. Venom is not just Big Boss because he looks like Big Boss and performs on the level of Big Boss. He is Big Boss because he, Venom, Naked, deceived Venom totally. His entire identity is a creation, is a falsehood. And so was Naked's. Big Boss as an identity is something born out of utter falsehood. That's why Naked and Venom can both be Big Boss. It's not just skill, it is deception all the way down. That's what makes them both Big Boss. They are both fluent in deception, utter deception, and the crushing consequences of it. That's what makes, in my mind, Naked really the villain. He did try to build an Outer Heaven free of that shit, but he built it on exactly what was done to him. That, to me, is the ultimate sin. Understanding by experience how hurt a person can be by something, and then doing that to somebody else. Not even Skullface, I would argue the vilest villain in the Metal Gear series, did that shit. Skullface did really vile shit, but he did those things to stop what happened to him from happening to other people. Naked did exactly what happened to him to somebody else. That's the that's the damning thing. Kaz was like the straw that broke the camel's back. And I hate Kaz because he is every human being. He will lie to you or do unto you because he thinks he knows better, and then feel upset when the same thing is done to him. But even with Kaz, you can blame, you can put stupidity on Kaz. What damns Naked Snake is the fact that he knew what he was doing. He knew and he did it anyway. That's some Colonel Kurtz shit amped up. Because even though that is damning, I still don't find myself blaming Naked for doing that. I don't know what to make of that feeling. And it's a confusing feeling because I have come sincerely to dislike Joy, to dislike the boss for what she did to Naked. But then Big Boss becomes Big Boss by doing that, doing the same, well, not the exact same, but something very similar to another person, and I don't hate him for it. And once again, you do go back to the boss, and you see she went through something very similar to what Naked went through. So it is a cycle, but why do I hate the boss, but I don't hate Big Boss? I don't know. But it's very sad, and whenever I think about anything regarding Naked Snake and Venom Snake too, because once again, I think they are the same person, I just feel so bad for them. And I will make every single excuse in the world for them. And once again, they are the same person, not because of what they do. Boy, the Venom is a stand-in for the player is one argument. It's kind of like the Chim is a fourth wall break saying you're in a video game. That's one way to look at it. I really don't think that's everything, and if you want to extract messages, if you want to code talk these games, that's not the way you should look at them. Venom is his own person, different in action and demeanor to Naked. Kaz, tell me what to do. Holy shit. Especially at that point, I could never imagine Naked asking someone to tell him what to do. But the reason, what makes them the same person, is the fact that they share that almost dead language, or they're so, it's in their genes, it's in their memes. Deception is what they are together. That's what makes them the same person, even though they are different people. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't.